Yeah, I'd be careful when you hear people say this isn't a great job.
It's been said by kind of everybody.
It's a bit, yeah. I mean, heck yeah. Like
everybody knows.
Every
John.
team that's been out there talking about it on national television, right? Yeah.
So you've got 50 kids in here today.
Yeah, today's our local day, and
how many players are normally here? Is there a limit?
It's a big one. No, there's no limit. But it's the guys did a really good job of recruiting guys in our area, and this year it's just a good class of kids young men that are able to participate. So it's funny. I'm talking to all the guys in the auditorium, and G. Scott Jr.'s in there, and I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, I knew that guy when he was little dude.
That's amazing.
And so let's rip with some amazing questions.
They pretty much have to. There's probably a lot of pressure. Like you feel like I was just talking to NASA about this. That like you go for a tryout like that, you drop a ball or jump off sides or whatever. I mean, it's already kind of a thin margin, right?
Yeah, no, I get it. They were, and I presented like, hey, it's an opportunity, for the draft, rookie mini camp. Workouts in the spring, workouts in the fall, because we keep these, constant emergency lists ready.
Yeah.
And we actually have a pro grade. I'm explaining it to him like, hey, we have a pro grade that says, like, this guy did a nice job. He may be a guy to work out for a practice squad opportunity in September, October, November, December, and what you do here today matters. You're making an impression on us.
Right.
That with some jokes, I tried, there's a gentleman in there with a really killer mustache, and I was like, man, how long you been working on that thing? It's phenomenal. And he just looked at me like, and like nobody laughed. I'm like, guys, like,
come on, man,
lighten up, Francis.
Well, you got to believe everybody's pretty puckered up.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
no, it was, and I get it. I couldn't imagine having an opportunity to do something like that. But Aaron Heinlein, is our director of college scouting, is from here, and so he always gets up and gives a talk like, hey, when I went to Central, and when I was coming out, this didn't exist, and I just wish it would have, and I'm just excited for you guys, and like, you need to go out there and run, because some guys are like, well, I'm not going to run my 40 because I ran it at the school. It's like, you might want to.
Yeah, you might want to
try it again there, partner.
Go stretch out.
Yeah.
What is it that's going on in there when the walls are vibrating in here? What kind of presentation is happening then?
They were just given a video. They're showing the guys like kind of like what the Seahawks are all about, like a really cool. Our video department does an awesome job, like putting together this awesome, like, hey, this is the new age Seattle Seahawks. That's how we're moving forward. So it's like Leo highlights and Spoon and JSN, and it's really cool. Like all the guys that like run around. Jay Reed, it's pretty cool.
Dave was like, "Could you turn down that inferno music?"
Oh, he can't hear it anyway. Let's call it what it is. He might feel the vibrations.
Set me up for that one, Bob.
He may feel the vibrations, but he can't feel anything. He can't hear anything.
That made Pearson smile.
What's going on over there?
Yeah.
Pearson.
So you guys watching the Masters today?
Well, Moyer was in here earlier, so he put that on.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Hey,
I was going to ask you about, like, we were talking about kids coming out of college, and I thought one of the more interesting things you said was that the NIL, it kind of, because kids are getting money now in college and everything, that you can tell who really loves football. But the other thing it kind of eliminates, if kids have had money when they get into the NFL, so I'm wondering if their first year gets accelerated a little bit because of that. Because when I came in, John, I had never paid a bill in my life.
Oh.
When I came in, I had to go get an apartment and get a car and all that stuff. And a lot of these guys, I mean, does that maybe shorten that time? Because you think it's tough for a rookie to start, right? But if he's a first, second, third rounder, is it like maybe softening that blow a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Mo and Connie, Soup, everybody in player development does an awesome job working with those guys anyway. But to your point, they're much more educated on it. They pretty much know what's going on. I mean, a lot of these guys now that we're interviewing and talking to at the combine or at their schools and on the Zooms, and the coaches, the scouts interviewing and everything, they're answering these questions like, where are you? Well, I'm in my apartment. Would you have any any roommates? No, this is my condominium.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh,
Wow.
nice.
I own it.
Yeah, I own it. Yeah, and this is and so yeah, to your point, they're paying bills. They're probably. I mean, they don't have Stanford degrees, but
Yeah. Well,
they're paying bills.
you see where that got me.
Yeah.
I'm in here talking to you.
Speaking of Stanford, Sherm was in the building today. That was fun.
What?
Yeah, Sherm was in the building today.
Oh,
cool.
yeah, we saw Sherm. And,
Yeah.
you know, so you guys, you want to talk about that a little bit? You put a picture of every win in Seahawk history out there up on the wall.
Yeah, it's all just
Pretty
pictures
awesome.
of Sherm.
All of them.
All of them.
Sherm.
Just when he came in the building, we just made him all Sherm. No.
Yeah.
Became
No,
Sherm's
Mike and I
building.
did that thing before that. You know, they were a couple. Like Sherm had some comment, like, "Well, you know, it's all." You know, he took down all Pete's signs or whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So we did the pre-draft thing, like just in the picture, right the picture of Sherm, like an amazing play, like tipping the ball in the end zone with Malcolm and everything.
He's pretty vocal
He's
about
yours.
how you guys handle your business.
Yeah,
He
always has been. I mean, yeah.
Nothing
I mean,
changed.
are you aware, do you even hear that stuff? He seems to be under the impression you should keep people on the roster until they're 43 years old and can no longer run or walk. Otherwise, it's disrespectful. That seems to be the mantra. Is there's a level of lack of loyalty, I guess, if or something like. Do you hear those things?
I hear those things. Yeah,
because I was saying I would love Sherm to be GM for a day and let him manage the salary cap and the young players and.
It's not like we've talked about this before. It's not a Seahawks thing. It's a league thing, right? You know, it's when I was in Green Bay, it was like Brett Favre, Reggie White. You know, Kansas City was Joe Montana, Marcus Allen. You know, and no, I will say, you know, there's a and Sherman and I were talking about today. There's a way to handle it. You know, you can. Like, it's not easy, but there's certain ways you can do things differently, and you can learn from all your experiences. And if you think you have everything licked, you're not. Practicing, doing best practices. You know, you're constantly trying to learn, like, okay, did we handle this correctly? Did we handle that correctly? What could I have done here? What could we have done there?
It's evolving, but how many different ways are there to tell somebody, Dave, you don't fit anymore. You're not as fast as you used to be. You make too much. I mean, it feels like the message is always.
You mean with
be the
Dave
same.
in particular?
Well, he had to hear
Let's
it
not
from
go there.
Shanahan, But I mean, there's only so many ways you can deliver that kind of bad news.
Right.
So how much can you truly evolve in how you approach that?
Yeah, there's things we talked about that, there's just different ways that, there's tone, there's your level of empathy, for what's going on. I think there's, like bigger than life characters and legends and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, there are people that have feelings and they take things a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's never easy. I mean, I remember Ted Thompson sitting down with God rest his soul, was Coach Holmgren's general manager basically when he was here. I mean, Mike was the general manager, but Ted was the vice president of football operations. And when I started, Reggie McKenzie and I, when we started in Green Bay together, Ted was going to tell us, he was going to show us how to cut somebody, right? Like, this is how you do it. This is the level of empathy you show. This is the way you interact with somebody. Okay, so Reggie and I sat there while he was letting this player go, and to this day, it's like the worst cut in NFL history. It was the worst. Like,
you're just in the room while he's doing it?
Yeah, we were just there, and he was going to show us how to do it, and the guy just lost his marbles, and it was a bad scene. Good thing Reggie McKenzie at 254 pounds was there, sitting with us, so it ended up being
you
okay.
thought, don't do it
So I won't
way.
do it this way.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and look, sounds like you need to be a therapist too. I mean, it's just there's a lot. But do you think how much of it do you think is? I was saying this the other day that there's something about the game of football that it's there's so much passion involved, and I was having this whole come to Jesus thing, which I didn't realize until the segment started, that I was like, of course Mike Shanahan let me go. I'd had like 12 surgeries, and I couldn't run a 5 flat 40, but at the time I was pissed at him for like 10 years, 12 years.
But did he tell you that? Like, hey,
probably longer.
Hey, we're concerned about your durability. We're concerned about
No, see, it would have helped if he would have actually told me.
We all want to know where we stand, and I think
Yeah.
what we've learned, well, like since we've been doing this, especially these last like 2 generations here, is like we all want to know where we stand. You got to hit them like exactly. This is where you are. Like, this is what's going on, and if you're completely honest with them, it's gonna hurt, and they might be upset with you for a while, but then over time they'll come around.
Right. Or for me, they got rid of me, and then they went on and won 2 Super Bowls. So it was like very obvious that they cut the deadwood.
Holy shnikey.
We found out what was holding us back.
Dave, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm okay now.
You can see the look of concern.
He was
on
looking
his
very
face.
concerned at me. Yeah.
Well, what about when just in the case of Gino, you make an offer to somebody, and then later he goes and speaks and talks about it. He felt disrespected. I mean, that's probably not unique either. I mean,
No.
but are you surprised by moments like that, or do you feel like, hey, I'm comfortable with how we handled this, and he's entitled to feel how he feels?
Exactly. Yeah, very comfortable the way we handled it, and knowing that a wise man told me once, you can't tell somebody how to feel. Like, it's just not. You can't. There's a lot of things you can do, but you can't. Hey, these are his feelings, and this is this person's feelings, and it's like any other relationship. Like, it's the way you feel. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Right.
Hey, does it stand out that much to you when you come across a player like Devon Witherspoon? We've just been raving about him and how I just think he's revolutionary. The way he plays is just so unbelievably, like, he's always a moving target, and he's always, and then even before the game, he's always like yapping and yelling at the crowd and doing it. I mean, that guy is unbelievable. When you had him at the number 5 pick, just kind of take us through like how excited you were to get a guy.
That was really stressful. That was a really stressful time, being that high and hoping that he would be there.
But you thought, okay, this guy might actually go in the top 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. We knew he was going right behind us for sure, and we didn't know if he'd make it to us. And everybody's what we learned right there, because thank God we've been blessed to not pick up there that much. Everybody's very, very tight-lipped. Like, it's even way more than it is down around the teens and the 20s. Everybody's kind of a little bit more free-flowing with their information there. Not a lot, but much more than it is up there, because stakes are so much higher. But yeah, he just has this love of the game, the passion. And I've told you guys before, we bring these guys in it's not like we bring guys in for free agent visits. It's the same thing. Are you just going to walk through the building and just be like, this is cool, it's all right, or are you going to be like, hey man, it's a great place, really excited to be here, I want to play here? There's a it goes two ways,
Mm-hmm.
And he just gives off that love of football. I'm into this. I mean, it just stands out, obviously on the film.
Yeah.
But then when you talk to everybody that's around him, whether it's equipment guys or trainers, talking about Illinois now, right? The defense coordinator that's now over at UW, he inspires other people. He's a force multiplier, as Mike McDonald would say.
Yeah.
Hey, when you draft somebody, whether
as he chases his edges.
That's right.
Yes.
Chasing edges.
Chasing edges. That's pretty cool. I love that.
We did a lot of that in spring training.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came up
at night
lot.
or.
No, when we were playing pool.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Ping pong. We were chasing edges.
Chasing edges.
Yeah.
That's right.
When you draft, depending on obviously 5th round or 5th overall pick carries a different expectation than 18. We were just talking to Paul Moyer, and Paul was talking about 18. That guy's got to be a Pro Bowler. And Dave's like, I don't know about that. How do you?
Where's Paul at? Is he still here? Let's bring him back.
He's listening. He's listening.
What's your expectation though? Do you expect at 18 they should be a starter? They should be like. Is there a cutoff where you start going, all right, that's Pro Bowl, this is a starter, this is a contributor? Like, how does that work?
It's part of the grading scale, which I'm not going to explain to you, but yes. But, it's a...
So you do have an
but yes,
expectation
the
attached.
expectation at 18 is the guy's a starter for sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and it's, there's grades throughout that, give you different guidance.
It sounds like you guys have everything down to where, because there used to be like fights. So Moyer was telling us a story about, a player, and then there's a couple coaches that got involved and on draft day, and it's going back and forth. And Jim Mora told me a story that I could have been a Charger and how he was in the room and people were arguing and fighting and everything. And I was like, holy, but that stuff, I mean, it sounds like now you're to a point where you guys have this is the rule book here. This is what we're doing. We're not going to let emotions get involved, or do people?
Yeah, we're in the process of that right now. So the scouts just came back in on Monday, and the scouts have seen how, Nolan Teasley and Matt Berry, Trent, myself, how we've adjusted the board going through it another time by ourselves. Now they've gone out in the spring, they've studied it. Now they bring that information, and now we're going through by position again, and we're discussing like where they should be on the board, and what that looks like. Now we also have the coaches' grades, so we can read their reports now and see, okay, well, now this is where the coaches think too. So now once we get through this time through the board, so call it like, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday, maybe Monday, depending on how long it takes. We'll get into it with coaches next week, and we'll sit in there with them, and then we'll discuss it. We'll get into it and go through it. Have our disagreements or agreements, or like let people know like where and why and the how we're going to acquire the player.
Yeah.
But that's all done by the time we get there, because I've been in those situations.
Okay.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation. It's I mean, you look like you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you want to have it all done and just be able to prepare for the strategy of what's happening, right? You don't want to be like, call it a game, your game plan sheet, you see the big offensive game plan sheets. You don't want to be sitting there like creating a game plan sheet during the game. You want to have that all buttoned up and be ready to go, and that's what our 3rd and 6 call is going to be, and
Right.
here we go.
So if you have, let's say, a coach and a scout, and they're far apart on a player or whatever, it's like you two guys get in the room and
No, we all do it
film
together.
and
Yeah.
everything's done together and just figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do on draft day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you have those little like side meetings and like little sidebars and stuff like that, that's where stuff gets off the rails. And I'm not going to say it hasn't happened, in the past year, but 98% of the time we're like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we've been this, our 15th or 16th draft, and we've been in situations where we've almost got a little off kilter, and then it's like no, this is the way we have the board. We're staying with it. We talked about this before, and at the end of the day, that's on the draft weekend. That's my primary job.
Yeah.
Dave was hoping you would say you let him go into a room and fight it out, and whoever comes out, he gets his pick.
Both of you are. Let's not just throw Dave under the bus. You guys would love that.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Hey, the report was you're going to have some quarterbacks come through, Jalen Milroe and somebody else. Is this, by everybody's estimation, the analysts saying this is not a great quarterback draft, and you've talked about the board not lining up with quarterbacks in the past. Does that make it easier, harder for you in looking at that position, that it's not considered a deep draft as far as quarterbacks go, and the board lining up for you? Is there any connection there for you?
Yeah, I'd be careful when you hear people say this isn't a great draft.
It's been said by kind of everybody.
It's a bit, yeah. I mean, heck yeah. Like,
everybody knows.
Every
John.
team that's been out there talking about it on national television, right? Yeah. No, I think it depends on the team, how they view the player, the quarterback. Again, how you're going to acquire him, where you're going to acquire him. But bringing him through the building is another. It's really about, okay, more time. We need more answers. We need more time with this player based on the questions that we need answered in terms of the vision we see for this player and the fit. It's not necessarily like it's separate from how you can acquire the player on draft weekend.
Hey, one more thing. You talked a little bit about
your notebook looks. Those notes are, holy cow! Can you read that?
Yeah, I can.
Phenomenal.
I can.
Yeah. They say really smart people, they scribble. And
is that a smiley face?
I'm just going to do that. No, it's not a smiley face.
He's covering it up.
Don't be so sensitive.
Oh, it's a star.
Oh, it looked like a smiley face over there. Yeah.
I like how he starts covering the page so you can't look at it.
I'm looking
Why
at my
are you being
notes.
so sensitive? You're a middle linebacker of the National Football League, for crying out loud.
No, I just don't want you looking at my stuff.
Okay.
Quit looking.
Yeah, quit looking at my stuff.
Never know what you're doing back there.
What is it about the guys that you have? Because you said earlier, offensive lineman-wise, that it's a lot about the scheme, and you said the experts are, Rico Dennison and then all Benton.
Did I say experts?
Line. I said they were experts. You said they were experts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're really good at it.
Yeah. What is it about the scheme, or how do those two things fit together? The players that you have here and the scheme. If you can tell us,
It's just it's their experience. It's the experience that both of them have had in that system with the people that have established it. So Mike Shanahan, Coach Gibbs, Rico. They call him Rico.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do that. You know, whenever I see him, like
The cool kids call him Rico.
cool kids call him Rico. Yeah. JB, just the history they've had, especially together, and watching what they did last year with the group in New Orleans. They were completely decimated on the offensive line, and they still were in games. Like, they were doing a nice job. They were still running the ball. Yeah, so it is a scheme. They talk about steps. They talk about, there's so much. I get it when people are talking about it, but there's the schematics of it. I'm sure, like, when you guys talk to Mark, like, I've heard you guys on the radio with him before. He's talking about the intricacies of your steps, your hands, your angles. Like all of a sudden you're off balance. How am I getting to what your targets are to the second level? Like what you're trying to accomplish. You know, so all those things are like extremely important, and the individual teaching, like the technique and pass pro, like it's. I mean, it's defensive players are just so much like, it's just like, I don't like, it's just the way it is. Like, they're just so much more talented.
Yeah.
Hey, last one before we let you go, and we asked Paul this as well, if you want to double check with him when you meet him.
Yeah, we need to get Paul. We need to get Paul and I guess is the show.
And I know, again, it's unique to every single player, but what is there a commonality in your opinion amongst players that just don't make it? You watch them at the college level, they're just monsters at the college level. They dazzle you in the interview, and then for whatever reason at the pro level, it doesn't pan out. You know, whether we're talking about a top 5 pick or a first round pick, it just doesn't work. Is there like one thing that stands out to you amongst players like that? You're like, well, that's probably why.
Awesome question. Yeah, I would probably say they believe the hype. They believe everything that people are saying about them on television for how many months, you know, now, like since the end of the season, or they believe all that stuff, and they're not true to themselves about who they are as a competitor and a person, and like the social awareness might be off.
Yeah.
And they're overconfident. They're not living in reality.
And then they don't take coaching well. Things like that. Yeah.
John, it's a pleasure as always.